Hello guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're gonna be showing you how to make a mob invisible. So basically it's really simple to do. So but you just need to know, I need to explain some basic code. So if I see this MCreator window, if I click on this tiny little arrow over here, it will open a whole search bar over here, a search browser. So here what you type is render living event, and that's all you do. Assuming you're on 1.20.1 or not 1.20.1, I mean 1.21.1, it will show up here. It will work also in 1.20.1, but it will be named differently. So it's gonna be like living render event or something. I don't remember how exactly it's called. You have to look it up. Anyway, this is in 1.21.1. It's called render living event. You just click on this. You'll see a bunch of code. You can't edit this code at all. It's just read only for reference. So what's all this? So as you can see, if I create a procedure right here, like whatever, I'm gonna call it any random stuff, there's something called global trigger. If I click on this global trigger, it will let you select different types of triggers or events. So if I click, for example, entity dies, it only this procedure will execute when the entity dies. Basically, that's what it does. Also, if I click on the generated code viewer at the top, there's this button. There will be like a bunch of code that represent what is going on here. So right now there's nothing, but it shows stuff here. So why? So basically, what this currently is that it subscribes to an event or a trigger. So basically triggers are events. Anyway, and you type in the name of the thing you want, so on the entity death, then type in the event itself, so living death event, for example, and then you just execute the code, which is over here, which is right now empty, which, yeah, I don't know why it like that redirects twice here, but whatever. They're like 3 layers of functions for no reason. Okay, let's delete this, close this, and let's create a new procedure called make invisible, whatever. So here, render a living event. So what you're gonna do right now is go to advanced immediately and drag out this custom code snippet, this one, the one with the arrow, not the jigsaw puzzle. Okay, now what do we do? So while you have this on, it says like code here, you can click on this generated code viewer, and now you can see what's going on. So code, this, whatever this code snippet is, just adds a comment. Comments basically are like a piece of text you can put in the code and does nothing. You just for like explanation, so that you can explain your code, whatever. Anyway, here what you're gonna do is add a curly bracket, closing curly bracket, which what would it do? Basically, it will just insert a curly bracket for this execute function. So if I go down and if I type in add, I'm gonna type subscribe event. Okay, and then go down here, you type in public stat. This is how you type in functions in Java. So public static void, and then you can give it any name you like. I'm just gonna call it like, I don't know, entity render. Yeah. Usually you this is how you write it. So like the first letter is gonna be small, and the beginning of the next word is gonna be capital. Anyway, this is what I did right now. So why did I open this render living event? So right now we're gonna make the entity invisible whenever we like. So this will make the entity invisible even with the armor. So if the entity has an armor or the player has an armor, it will also go away. It will not be rendered. It will be completely invisible. So how do you do that? Is basically go here and you see public abstract class. Just copy this render living event, copy up to here. So like this entire section. So the name only. So put this in, and what you're gonna do is type in dot, and then scroll down here. You will find there's pre and post. So I don't know what post does. It does stuff after the entity is rendered. So you don't need to do that. We need to go before the entity rendered, and we have to cancel it. So before the entity is rendered, we go ahead and cancel the rendering so that it will not render. Basically that. So we just use the pre version. There's like 2 kinds, pre and post. Okay, so render living event, and then type in pre, and then give call it event or whatever you want to call it. So now, then you, at the end over here, after this parenthesis here, you add a opening curly bracket, and that's all. So what you did right now is create basically a trigger, like what you saw here, triggers, except that you basically have a custom one that's like in Minecraft, but MCreator doesn't have yet. So here we have this now. How are we going to use stuff with it? So it's not ready yet. It's not ready. First of all, we need to add any trigger. It doesn't matter. So like entity tick, whatever. You can do player send chat, entity tick, whatever. It doesn't matter. So I'm gonna do entity tick. Why is that? Why is it like that? So because for some reason, so basically events require this outside. So if I don't choose a trigger, it doesn't add. I can't insert it here because I cannot attach this at the top or top here. So like you can't insert that thing I just showed. So let me choose entity tick, whatever. You can do entity dies, entity tick, whatever. So right now when I do this, it adds at an event bus subscriber. This is important. This is like tells Minecraft that this code will have events inside. Yeah, and you have to like pay it, tells Minecraft to pay attention to this piece of code. Okay, so now we have this. Now we can just go to advance and cancel. So if I do this, what does this do? Basically this would make every single entity disappear and not be rendered. Every single living entity specifically. So how do you control this? Right now if I go ahead and like use this, like here, if I force check here, for example, I want to make sure if an entity is like sneaking or not. Like here, let me type in sneak. So sneak here. If I go ahead and use this, if sneak and then close, this will not work. Why is that? Because on render entity event doesn't have access to the entity thing. You have to make it have access to it. So as you can see here in the code over here, there's event, and it's like calling this entity. This is the event target entity. If I remove this, it goes away. So it's just canceling. So we're gonna bring it back here. So now there's this. Yeah. So this event target entity in code is just entity. You have to know that. So if I try to save this and try to build, it will fail immediately. See? Because it says the entity does not exist. So how are we gonna make it be able to access it? So you go back to this code snippet. Or actually, I'm gonna make this more readable and split it into like 2 code snippets here. So what I'm gonna do is just type in entity with a capital in the beginning, and then type in entity with a small letter as the same as the name down here. And then what you're gonna do is just equal event dot get entity, like this. So event dot get entity, open and close parentheses, and then semicolon. So what this does, it goes to the event that got triggered and tries to get the entity it has. And when it gets it, stores it to the entity variable. Basically, that's what it does, local variable. And now this will have access to the entity, because this is only looking for a variable called entity, which now exists. So if I press save, it will build properly. See, no errors. We can add more stuff. Like here, I'm gonna show you. So you can type in double x equal. Double basically means decimal places, like the decimal numbers. So double x equal to we do entity dot get x, then open close parentheses, and then just do the same thing for y and z. Double y equal to entity dot get y, and then we do the same thing for z. Double z equal to entity dot get z, then open close parentheses. Oops. So you have to make sure the parentheses are empty here for all of these. You have to make sure it's case sensitive, because it should be like small letter get, then capital Y or capital X or capital Z, and the XY double XYZ, you make sure it's all small letter, XYZ small letter. This is important because when MCreator generates this code, it's looking for the XYZ like in the small letter. So as you can see here in the provided dependency on the side over here, there is all, it should basically just shows the variable names. So event target entity is just entity in the code. The X, Y, and Z are like this way. They're like just small letter X, small letter Y, small letter Z. And then we have to put the wall. How do we put the wall first? So now we got entity XYZ. You can't get the wall from the event. So what you're gonna do is just do type in. Now this is weird. So here, let me just do this. So it's called level accessor, like this, really long name, and then type in world. So now basically here, when I specify, basically this is just name, and this is basically the type of variable. So here, worlds are basically level accessors. So basically a way to access the level, the values inside it, and how to like modify stuff within it. So here, level accessor world equal to, world must be small letter, okay, equal to, and you type in entity dot level open close parentheses and semicolon here. Now what this does is it goes inside the entity that of the event, and then sees and basically just grabs whatever level it's currently inside. So and if the entity is like currently in the in this world, basically this is how the data works in Minecraft. So you access the level accessor, which you can basically manipulate the world with. Here, now we have all that. Now basically now we match exactly on entity tech update like provided dependencies. Now it will not complain like if there's some extra stuff. So here, let me just here, now this works actually. If I compile, it works. Here, if I just press save, now we can have access to X, Y, Z, and world too. So if I can just do this now, so I can access the world procedures here, because world procedures require the world parameter. So now I can do strike. I can strike lightning at X, Y, Z. I can do that here, like that basically. So here, this is gonna be funny. Well, like on this, ignore this on entity tech update. This is not. We're not taking on update. We're basically just doing things on render. So let's try this. What happens? It's like as long as like the entity being rendered, it will strike lightning all the time. Let's move this down here. So if the entity is sneaking, it will strike lightning and make the entity invisible. Basically how that works. Yeah, let's save this and then open a test world. So here, this is my player. Okay, I'm controlling this. If I sneak, I get invisible. Of course, it did not strike lightning because this is an event that's for rendering. It's this event's like triggered kind of like in client side. So here, let me explain something before. So there is in Minecraft there is like two sides, client and server. Client is the visual part of the game, and server is like where all the game logic runs. So here, this is a server only like procedure block. Let me remove that. Can I find something that's not like server side only? So here, play sound. Let me just play Anvil Fall or Anvil Place. Here we go. Here, let's try to run this. Here, let me see. Oh my god. Oh yeah, now this works because it's not server side only. So basically, the rendering part of the game is on the client side, which is like common sense and like for people who knows about modding, and the server side basically handles the game logic. Like if I punch this block, it will disappear. If I like, I don't know, if the mob health reaches 0, it will die. Here, it will die and spawn the item and XP. This is basically what the server side does. So yeah, See, also if I sneak right now, nothing happens. No sound is being played because I'm in first person view. That's how client side works. It's only works when things are, when it actually works. So this only works at like the third, like the 3D model of the mob, so, or the player. So here, it works here, but when I move to the first person view, the model is not being rendered. So if I try to do this, nothing happens. It's like the model was not being rendered at all from the beginning. So here it works only in third person where it like spams the sound effect. Yeah, basically that's all. So hopefully you guys learned something, and see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.